Director Ridley Scott's much-anticipated and controversial Moses flick, Exodus, Gods and Kings, hits theaters this weekend. I attended the premiere earlier this week and had a chance to speak with Scot and the star of the film, Christian Bale. This decidedly militaristic take on the major prophet covers Moses' first calling by God to the Israelites' escape across the Red Sea.
I came here to tell you that something is coming that is out of my control.
Moses' journey from non-believer to prophet is played with skill and depth by Christian Bale. The special effects, from the sweeping battle scenes to the chases to the dramatic plagues, are just what you'd expect from a big-budget Hollywood film. What will throw some viewers is Ridley Scott's decision to depart from the scriptures at key moments. God, or his angel, even though he is referred to and identifies himself as I am in the movie, appears as a demanding and imperious child of 11. Is the message here that God is cruel and petulant like a child? Viewers will have to make up their own minds. Another concern for some faithful viewers may be the timing of Moses' encounter with God. The meeting occurs after Moses is pummeled on the head by a series of boulders rolling down a mountain. He endures a second head injury later in the Red Sea. So is Moses delusional? Is he brain damaged? The film doesn't say. Scriptural concerns aside, the movie plays like Scott's Gladiator amid the pyramids. I attempted to explore some of the artistic liberties taken when I spoke with Exodus director Ridley Scott and Christian Bale. Take a look. Ridley, I want to start with you. Why this militaristic Moses, if you will? He's almost a Semitic George Washington.
He was. As far as I know, as far as my research took me, which was taken down a route with a person who's very much knew a lot about Moses, like an encyclopedia, and also the whole Old Testament. And I was surprised when I took this on. In fact, prior to taking it on, I realized how little I knew about Moses, and I did not realize that actually he was military at all. And to find out that actually he was in fact extremely capable military man, and in fact whether we enlarge a little or not, whether he was the commander of the Egyptian army, is up for discussion. But no, he was a military guy. I think that's how it assisted him in his thinking and his plan and his journey once he'd been banished.
Christian, you have described him in some parlance as a terrorist almost. What drew you to this?
No, let me correct that. Let me correct that. I never called him that.
You didn't?
No. I said the Egyptian Empire would have called him that. There's a big difference. I said he's a freedom fighter, but any establishment that a freedom fighter is fighting against is going to discredit that person by labeling them a terrorist. I never called him that.
Okay, good. Glad you correct the record, because it is everywhere. Tell me about playing the other part of him, the part where he's struggling with the divine and this divine calling. What drew you to that, and how did you approach it? And how do head injuries play a role here?
Well, what drew me to that is the biblical account. You know, the definition of Israelite is he who wrestles with God, and nobody wrestled with God more than Moses. When he first encountered God, and Moses was the only man to have ever actually sat face to face, seen God, laid eyes upon him, spoken with him, he said no. God asked him to go free his people, and he said, no, that's not for me. And God got very angry with him. And they have a very combative relationship. They disagree greatly with each other, and that's the biblically accurate account.
Ridley and Christian, I want you both to comment on this. What about the decision to portray God as a little boy, a petulant at times, angry little boy?
He's a messenger.
Malach means messenger. He's not God. Malach is a word in, think Hebrew or Arabic, just kind of gets close, is a word for messenger. Some would say angel, but I preferred messenger.
Why portray him like that? Some have said it diminishes God.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go on then.
How would you have portrayed God?
Well, I don't know. How do you do it? The burning bush was, I guess I'd start with the bush, but we see the bush, but then we also see this messenger appear.
Right, but
it's
it's
not
actually
just the
your
detached
choice,
voice.
because it's this gentleman's actual
Yeah.
choice. It's actually your choice. How do you present God? It's a very difficult thing to do, isn't it?
It is indeed. Well, that's what I'm asking. What was the rationale behind
the rationale
that?
before
the
had-
double imagery almost of the child as well as the.
Well, you want to associate one with the other. And God is seen in many forms. He's seen most powerfully in nature, in trees, in seas, in storms, do these storms represent his anger, or is he replenishing the earth? He is seen the beauty and the bad stuff that happens here. I sound like a preacher, okay? But also,
you're practically converting us
yes,
here.
but but at the same time, he prefers not to present himself in a visible form. Therefore, we'll have messengers from time to time. So Malak was my idea. So if you don't like Malak, I can be blamed for that. I think you worked great. And you can only call it. Have you got children?
I do. I have 3.
Okay. Well, when a kid speaks his mind, I don't call him petulant. So you use the word petulant. So I think
it was a bold artistic choice. I was just wondering what the rationale.
He was intelligent. He was an equal to an adult. And if he says, "I want you to do this," because he's that much younger, people get kind of irritated by that. And if I have a child talk to me like that who makes sense, I'm respectful. That's it.
One of the most moving parts of the movie was at the very end when you did that card dedicating it to your brother Tony. Tell me about the relationship with these brothers and how it changed.
We wrote it. It came to a choice when you're writing a screenplay and you're adapting such a massive story. There's a lot of decisions you have to make where you're constantly treading on thin ice, because you are having to be respectful of. 3 major denominations where Moses is one of the most important characters in all those 3 denominations, and therefore I have to be respectful of that, and therefore at the same time I don't want to diminish the story. I don't want to write a story that's going to please everybody.
Exodus, Gods and Kings will certainly not please everybody. It is much more accessible than the off-base Hollywood Noah that washed ashore earlier this year. You'll remember that one had the homicidal subplot of Noah attempting to kill his grandchild. Still, Exodus will be a challenge for those acquainted with the scriptural account. Be prepared. Moses doesn't really use his staff here. His brother Aaron is hardly seen. The plagues are not initiated by Moses, but are for the most part naturally occurring events set into motion by God in rapid succession. The messenger and Moses' repeated head traumas could also offend some viewers. For those not looking for a biblical Moses on the big screen, those seeking epic battles and over-the-top graphics, this may be the film for you. For everyone else, there's always Charlton Heston. Exodus, Gods and Kings hits theaters this weekend.